Welcome back into another episode of Calibrated. I am your host, Scott. Today we have a battlefield update on the deepening operational crisis around Pokrovsk for the Ukrainian military and the ongoing encirclement of Ukrainian troops in the city of Minharad, which is the sister city of Pokrovsk. I will now take you over to the map where we are going to look at the city of Pokrovsk. Here, let me just refresh this and we will get right into this. Okay, so we have seen a couple of key events happen here in the Pokrovsk area. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys just so we can talk about what is really going on in the city. There's a lot of conflicting information, but first and foremost, what is important to know is that Russian forces have been geolocated right in this area, walking along this highway towards this roundabout intersection, and they're doing so very freely. It doesn't look like there's a heavy threat from FPV drones, Ukrainian FPV drones. It looks like the Russians are continuing to clear and consolidate positions in northern Pokrovsk. You can see that I have updated my map to show that both of these areas are now at least tentatively under Russian control. Obviously, with urban battles, you can have Ukrainians sitting in any basement at any given time. So it's really hard to differentiate between, Russian controlled and Ukrainian controlled. But this is more or less the general overview of the situation, with Pokrovsk being majority captured. You can still see that there are areas of Pokrovsk up here that have not been captured. Also, there are the villages of Rivne and Zvilt that lie between Minharad and Pokrovsk. And these are sort of just like a stepping stone in between the two cities, but I don't know if I'm going to consider them a part of either. They look more like a part of Minharad to me. So it could be argued that most of Pokrovsk has been captured, although I would still put it at 85 to potentially 90% at this point. In terms of the Ukrainian encirclement, which is still ongoing, and nothing has changed in this direction since my last video, which you guys can go watch if you want to catch up. Here you can see that Ukrainian forces are encircled in the city of Minharad, while Russian forces continue to penetrate into southern Minharad and consolidate positions in the southern edge of the city. So the operational space for the Ukrainians now in Minharad is getting extremely tight. I don't think that there's probably a lot of infantry movement at all. There's probably just guys sitting in basements, sort of just waiting, trying to figure out what to do next, if they're going to try to break out, or if they're going to surrender, or if they're going to fight to the last. That's what's going through these guys' head in this encirclement right here in the city. And what the Russians are most likely trying to do now is connect Novopavlivka to the southern edge of Minharad here through these fields, thereby cutting off the Ukrainian positions in Suky Yar and Lysivka, dividing this pocket in half, and then they will begin to work on the majority of the city of Minharad, where the largest portion of the Ukrainian garrison is currently located and hiding. It has been reported that most of the Ukrainian forces in Pokrovsk have joined the Ukrainian forces in Minharad. So now I think that the Battle of Pokrovsk is coming to its end. Although in terms of, just language, when we're talking about the war in Ukraine, the Battle of Pokrovsk includes the Battle of Minharad. So, the Battle of Pokrovsk has not yet finished, but the fighting for the city of Pokrovsk is nearing its end right now. I wanted to talk to you guys about what the Ukrainians are trying to do to change and alter the situation. And most importantly, I wanted to talk about two areas. Up here to the north, Ukrainian forces, as I've talked about, are conducting offensive operations from the village of Drobopila and Bletsky here, and trying to push into this area once again. We've seen them trying to push into these fortifications north of Radanske for quite some time. You can see that there's an additional gray zone to the north of Radanske. And we've also seen Ukrainian counterattacks from this mine facility into Radanske itself. There's been a lot of talk on pro-Ukrainian information, outlets that the village of Radanske is under Ukrainian control. This is just objectively false. The Ukrainians walked in into this set of buildings right here, which was then heavily bombed by the Russians and struck with FPV drones, and the guys were getting hunted in here. So no, Radanske is still firmly under Russian control. There was a small penetration into the edge of the city here, which was then quickly eliminated by Russian air fire and FPVs. Moving down to the Pokrovsk section, this is where we had one of the more interesting events of the war that has occurred recently. I am going to take you over to my Twitter to show you guys a few videos of the events that unfolded here, but I just want you to remember this area on the northern edge of Pokrovsk. This is where the GUR attempted a helicopter insertion. They landed right here in these fields somewhere and dropped off between 10 and 15 GRU soldiers, so soldiers from the Ukrainian intelligence services, were dropped off in these fields. They then sprinted into this gas station and into these buildings here just to the south, trying to establish positions, trying to reopen connection into Pokrovsk. This was defeated in a very bloody and difficult fashion for the Ukrainians. So I'm going to take us over to my Twitter now, and I'm just going to show you here. Please ignore some of the audio. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. But as you can see, FPV drone that is sitting on one of the logistics routes into the city. The Russians often do this, where they will use these basically as mobile minefields. They'll drop them on the road, and then when they see a car come by, they'll take off and go and hit it. So it's sort of like having watchdogs all over the place. You know, they're going to start barking if movement is observed. Black Hawk helicopters that dropped off the Ukrainians were spotted very early on, before they actually dropped off their troops. Make that smaller. Come down here. You can see right here, you can see the Ukrainian units being dropped off by helicopter. They spread out in all different directions. And then slightly later on, and I'm just going to show a very small portion of this, we can see that they were later hunted by FPV drones and eliminated. So this is an incredible waste of resources. If you want to see the rest of that video, you can go over to my Twitter or my Telegram. Both of those links are in the description of this video. To see the full-length video, you can see my opinions, my thoughts on those actions by the Ukrainian armed forces. But before we get out of here, let me go right back over to the map and just discuss this. So there's a lot of ideas about what this could have been. Some people are saying that the Ukrainians were just trying to get in here to plant a flag, as they have tried to do before previously. I don't necessarily think this is the case. I think that there is an extreme level of desperation in the Ukrainian command at this point. I think that Syrsky, Bundanov, these people are on the chopping block for removal, for the next set of purges based off of battlefield performance, and the battlefield is not working out for the Ukrainians. Syrsky is personally working on this encirclement, trying to figure out how to deblock the Ukrainians in the city of Minharad, and Bundanov personally orchestrated the helicopter landing, which resulted in the deaths of, by my estimates, 11 GUR intelligence operatives. So an incredible waste of resources here. The Ukrainians are still trying to attack in the direction of Verdansk, pretty unsuccessfully, making it into the first buildings and then getting eliminated. So the encirclement is very tight. There is no exit for the Ukrainians. I've been watching FPV videos of just infantry getting hit along these roads here pretty mercilessly. From Ukrainian sources, they say that logistics and rotation into the city is basically impossible. If you make it in, you're not making it out. And if you make it out, you're one of the luckiest people that has lived in the city of Pokrovsk or Minharad, because this is just being hounded by Russian fire basically 24/7. It is everything that you want out of an encirclement. Closing it is going to have consequences that might be unforeseen for the Russian forces. So I hear a lot of people saying, "Well, why don't the Russians close it? Why don't the Russians close it?" Go read Sun Tzu's Art of War. You never want to fully surround your enemy, especially the Ukrainians. And there's a specific reason for this. The Ukrainian armed forces has the inability to properly withdraw in a timely manner from a location because the political blowback from such an action would be so great, and it would appear so bad for the Ukrainian position that they wouldn't be able to deal with it. I think that is their entire perspective on this war. They are fighting a political war where, cities are not as important as the idea of the city, right? The deaths of Ukrainian soldiers is not as important as the idea of what those Ukrainian soldiers died for. I think this is a false perspective. I think that this is a good way to get good men killed, like those GUR operatives that were dropped off by helicopter, like the men in the garrison currently encircled by Russian forces. This is not the first time we've seen an encirclement like this. Mariupol, Severodonetsk, Lysychansk, currently Kupiansk. It is a common trope of the Ukrainian armed forces. So that Sun Tzu point in the Art of War, that you never fully encircle your enemy, you leave them an outlet, is particularly poignant with the Ukrainian armed forces, where they will continue feeding and attriting themselves into a pocket for political reasons. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. This has been another episode of Calibrated Map Updates, focusing on the Pokrovsk events, or the events unfolding around Pokrovsk. Thank you guys so much for your support. Remember, you can follow me on Telegram and Twitter. Those links are in the description of this video. Remember also that if you wish to personally support my work, you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee. All money that is donated to the Buy Me a Coffee goes directly back into Calibrated. It goes back into everything that I do here for you guys. More content, better content, potentially edits coming soon, potentially clips coming soon, a lot of different stuff. Be sure, if you are new here, to subscribe. If you are not new here, you guys know the deal. Leave that like, leave that comment. I appreciate you all so much tuning in today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good